I can't hear audio. One sec.
Lorem ipsum dolorem et. Can y'all hear me?
I don't hear anything. Nope.
I heard music. Okay, cool. We're back.
All right. Are we
Hey,
back?
So let's do my intro.
All right, we're back. Imani, care to repeat your introduction?
So I do game dev stuff online. Like that's literally all I do on Twitch. Like I just stream myself working on games and crying about games and all that jazz. You can find me on Twitter at mcatterdev. Obviously this is my Twitch channel. I think it's the only two real places you can find me on the internet that's game dev related. And Itch. You can find me at Margaret Catter Development on Itch, where I make games.
How about you, Aaron?
Here, let me turn my cup around so you can see my one partner sponsorship.
Ah, that's such a good cup. How's the coffee?
It's really good coffee. Like the donut shop coffee is amazing.
I gotta get on that. Aaron, how about you?
Hi, I'm Aaron. So I design games. I'm on Twitter as @AaronLime, spelled EHRONLIME. And I've been doing a thing this year where I'm designing a game a month, mostly through game jams, and also some bringing back some of like my past like on hold projects and like trying to get them finished up within a month, which has been pretty good motivation to keep going on that. And I do that on itch, same name, ehronlime.itch.io. You can catch up on my stuff there.
Sweet. How about you,
That's pretty much it.
Hi, I'm the imposter here. Because I've done this precisely twice. And for some reason, then after the first one, Amani was like, "Hey, you want to come to this panel?" And I said, foolishly, not knowing the time, "Sure." But hello.
Wait for me, okay? Hold, you can't.
No, it's great. So I'm Amr Emraz. You can find me everywhere on the internet at Emraz, including Twitter, Twitch, all of that. I will be doing more of this in the future. The thing that we will be talking about today. So if you are interested in live devlogs and game design streams and the like, you can find me doing that later. All right, Ajay, take it away. So I can
You
stop
think you're an imposter? I am known for one game.
rambling.
I am a J. I guess I'm a developer now. I am the writer behind the Bolt RPG engine, which is now on version 0.2.5. 2.6 is going to come out real soon. So that's how my development process works. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. We got the slides. Shall we cut to the table of contents?
Yeah, let's hold on one sec. I mean, you can start without me. Don't mind me.
All right. Who's handling?
I'm not going anywhere.
I do not have control.
I made you make a slideshow and I'm not even ready.
You made the slideshow. I just put slides on it.
We just need to vamp a little bit longer.
Okay.
It's all good. Sweet. So we
Okay,
have our
cool.
table of contents here. We got the joys of version control. Why keep a devlog? Where we all keep our devlogs. There are going to be some fun, chaotic answers to that. Some tools to help with devlogs, and then we'll end out with a Q&A. So you can ask the details of how we all screwed up our dev process.
Never. No such thing.
No
Yeah,
such
a bad
thing.
way to do it. So long as you're doing it, it doesn't count as a bad way to do it.
You keep those words in mind for when I start talking.
Yup.
Oh God.
All right, let's go to the next slide.
I'm the required chaotic neutral, chaotic evil on the stream.
Neutral evil, I said. So yeah, let's move a couple slides up. Past the joys in version control.
It's the choice of version control. Version control is God. Having backup copies of your thing is amazing. I'm obviously...
Side note, how many of us have a background of some kind in software development? That checks out. If you've done software development and you've had an issue with your version control system at work, why version control is good. Part of it is, and I think Imani and Amr and Aaron can also jump in whenever. Part of it is, one, knowing when things are getting done when. The second part is keeping up backups because things will go wrong. And then the third is it's part of explaining your work to other people. It's part of the commenting process. It's part of the collaboration process of you need to keep people on track of what you've done, what you haven't done, what you're planning on doing. And oh shit, you and a friend of yours were working on the same part of the project at the same time, and you did different things. That's where version control comes in to help you reconcile what happened. So let's go to Imani's version control process.
Oh, I mean, it's not really a process.
It's just you put slides on the deck. It's a process now.
It did. So I use Notion and Google Docs for all of my version control. Literally, my Notion is out of date. My Notion, I will admit, I haven't updated because basically the way I do version control is I made a Wikipedia and then I keep editing the Wikipedia. That's just how I keep track of things. Why are you looking at me like that?
What? Me?
Yeah.
This is cool.
So anyway, I made a Wikipedia, and then the Wikipedia I just update with every time I make a change, I go back to the wiki page and I update the wiki page with the information that I put on it. And then I just write everything in Google Docs. Everything I do gets done in Google Docs. I don't do anything. I keep saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna be an adult and do things in Markdown and use Visual Studio Code. It's gonna be great. Back it up to GitHub, and then I don't. And I don't.
In all the
Command scare
times,
me.
in all the times I've been in engineering school, I never figured out Git.
Git scares me. Git
I
genuinely
don't
scares
understand how it works.
Me.
I
No,
understand perforce. I don't get Git.
What's there not to get? You just
I don't
type in the
understand what it
command from
does.
Google and then it works.
That's fair.
We can get one more slide as well on devlog notes.
Oh yeah, hold on a second. Let me. I lost the slideshow on my end.
Well,
No,
I'm gonna
right.
give you
So
the link.
again. I use Notion. I use Notion for my thing. So I make a to-do list, and I fill out. I have like templates within my Notion document that I then use to fill out information like what is this about? What is this for? Who is this for? Where does it go? That kind of stuff. And I just like it helps me. It helps my process so I can keep track of what I'm thinking the thought, because I will forget. I will immediately forget what I was doing.
Absolutely.
Also, if you could refresh the slide deck real quick, I slid in one of my slides in here because it fits here better.
Nice.
Just slide in. Just that's fair.
Sliding in a slide. Wow.
Hey.
Alright.
In that case, let's pop to Ummer's collab version control.
Yeah, so for Chimera, it's a collaborative project. I'm working on it with Ryan or Lord Neptune, and we use pretty exclusively Google Docs because Google Docs is a great tool to collaborate on stuff, especially for writing. And a lot of our stuff will be done in suggestions and comments that we can go back and forth on. But for the actual version control, the mess that you're seeing on the screen is that we save. We like to develop Chimera in specific versions, and in each version we set goals, specific systems we want to overhaul, specific things we want to test, things we want to try out, and we make it. We do the version, we run a few playtests, but we put it in a folder. We seal up the folder. We don't really seal it up. We just name it archived, and then make a copy with all the files, and start editing the new version. So you can see here that we have versions 0.7, 0.5, 0.4, and 0.6 of Chimera. 0.6 being the most active, like full version, 0.7 being the in development one, and the other ones being archived.
Stresses me out. Like the idea that I don't know why that stresses me out, because it's such a good way to do things. Like it's such a better way than what I do. Literally just trusting Google Docs to back things up. Like
Yeah, it's essentially multiple backups on Google Docs, which, you know, if Google Docs decides to say, nah, we might be in trouble, we should probably download something. But until that day, or I mean, if that day comes, a lot of the game devs will be in trouble, so we won't be.
There will be a game apocalypse
Yeah.
if Google Docs decides to go nah. And that, folks, is a danger of monopolies. Let's go to the next slide if we're all good.
You want to keep staring at this for a bit longer?
So next we have why keep a devlog, which we've kind of gone over. Or at least I made my rant about why keep a devlog. What about everyone else on this crew? Especially Aaron. Like, Aaron, what do you think about the values of keeping a devlog?
Yeah, so I guess my use case is slightly different, because for myself, I develop all the games that I make solo, so I don't need the version control and the devlog for collaboration. And because like the stuff that I'm doing for the game a month stuff, all of them are pretty short, quick games, so I'm not actually coming back to do a lot of revisions on them. So for myself, the reason why I have like a log or some documentation on like what I did is kind of to remind myself of why I was doing things when I was doing them. It's kind of like I actually find like the writing principles for like RPGs is a really good kind of like first step for writing a devlog, because that kind of like sets your goals and what you think you are trying to achieve with the game. And so for myself, why I want to have that is um, because I work on like so many small quick things all over the place, and then when I want to come back and look back at them and like make updates, it might be 2-3 months down the line, so it's good to have that to come back to. And also it's a good reminder. related to that, I guess, is that like sometimes like when you've left the project for a while, the thing that sticks to your mind, the thing that, oh, I remember this is the project that did this, right? But like when you go back into the devlog, it's like it's not actually clear that was like a main thing. But like after leaving it for a while, then you realize, oh, okay, this game was in the end actually about something else. And like being able to go back to the devlog and like have a look at like what you thought you were making at the time and what you ended up actually
Doing?
making, yeah, actually doing, was quite useful. And I guess like for myself, one of the things that I do is like I just talk about it on, like I do a commentary for like most of I'm trying to make all my game a month games like have at least a commentary. I do that on Twitter. It's also just a way to, like for me, like a more i- interesting way to talk about the project rather than just tell people, hey, there's a new game this month, couple of screenshots. Like at least I find if I just talk about my process through that, hopefully that kind of helps people see what the game, what it's about, in a bit more detail. It serves multiple purposes, I guess, so that I get the benefit out of it, and it's also a bit of a promotional thing as well.
Absolutely.
Also, I mean, I'll put this out there because I'm terrible at self promo. Like I tried. I think the only game I did a tweet thread for was the original version of "It's Dangerous to Go Alone, Take This." Like the original version. It was an idea that I had while I was sitting at Twitter, so I like wrote out a game on Twitter and then I wrote it into like a Google Doc.
Hmm.
That's
But like
sick.
huh?
That's sick.
Literally, I know. So I have so many good ideas that I just like throw on Twitter sometimes, and then I like come back to like, and all the times like I'm reading people's tweets, going, "That's a great idea." Like someone like I'm making. So obviously I'm making my magnus opus or whatever the word is in Latin. Is Neo City Chronicles, which is magical girls and giant robots. But someone was just like giant robots and something else. I can't remember what the other thing was. And I remember thinking, that's also a great idea. I should also do that. Why am I not doing that? And then like I like bookmarked that tweet for later, which is the equivalent of me taking a note, like making a physical note. It's just like me just writing it down. But like I keep a devlog because the reason I keep a devlog is I will forget what I'm doing. I will literally like I will forget. Like Aaron is lucky. Aaron's doing a game a month. I was trying for a while to do a game every 2 weeks. I was trying to put out 26 games.
I remember those days. I remember.
That's like Casey Neistat levels of output.
Well, it was like I wrote 26 games. It's not like I didn't write 26 games. I have like 20 games that need to be tested and make sure that they're actual games before I put them out. But like I have a separate Google Doc just for that game with like notes about what those games are, because I will have forgot. I come up with great titles for games. I come up with great titles for games. I was like, what game was that for? Where was that going? Like that's why I keep a death one, because I have like the memory of a goldfish.
Another thing that it really does, if you're working on a continuous game, like I've been working on the same goddamn game for months, is it's
I'm
hell.
laughing because I've been working on Magical Girls and Mecha for like a year and a half.
Yeah, I've been working on Bolt for like going on a year now.
I have a game that has predated my
Austin
premieres game
worked on their-
design.
I was gonna say Austin worked on their game for like 15 years.
Yeah,
Apparently
Austin,
that's normal.
I don't know. But one thing that really helps if you keep version control over a long game, over a long time scale, is that you'll be able to get a sense for, oh, that's when I got that idea. Or if someone is reviewing a game and you can kind of pick out like, oh, they're on an outdated version. So that way it's like a good way of like keeping track of what you've done, and also of like keeping a milestone of like how far you've come. And also like every time you like stamp on a new version number, that becomes, okay, here's another version of this game that is packaged. You can send it out to people. And then if they come back with feedback, you know which version of the game they're giving feedback for. And you can decide, oh, have I already fixed that problem? So it's good in playtesting. Let's go to where do we keep our devlog? And I think the next one on there is.
I thought you didn't even ask me why I keep a devlog.
I thought we already went over why you kept the devlog.
What? When did we do that?
Did we? Oh, we
No.
didn't. All
No, we
right,
didn't.
tell us why you keep a devlog.
The fuck's the devlog? Next
I
question.
swear to God. I swear to fucking God. You monster. Where do we keep our devlog?
So real quick, the answer is in collab projects, I keep a devlog so that we can communicate what we see as the vision for the project, right? So like for Chimera, we have a bunch of places we keep our devlog, and why we do it like a lot of times through Discord. It'll be conversational. We'll talk about what we want, and then we will compile it because what?
That's a hellscape. Why would you keep a devlog in Discord?
Well, no, we don't. We will talk like in Discord to talk about what we want to do with the project, and then we will compile it down and pin it in a channel. And then like our Discord is super organized with different channels for different parts of the game development for our own internal use, because that's how we can communicate and like talk, and then it serves as a platform, and we can constantly check it. But when I'm doing it personally, I usually don't keep a devlog. I will have to-do lists, and I do it to know what I immediately want to do. But we'll talk about that in a minute because it gets worse.
Oh no. So where do we keep our devlogs? I'll start real quick. My devlog. So I have like a core copy of Bolt with an old logo because I never bothered to change it. That's basically been like, this is the like everything on Bolt as it is written. That I back update because I'm a monster. And on that is where the devlog is. Like up from version 0.2 up to 0.26. That's where my devlog is. I keep it in one place, internal. Then we'll get to what I do with it externally as well. That's where I keep my devlog.
This is my devlog. This is my real devlog.
Why don't we get the cohesive answers first? Aaron or Imani, want to go?
This is my devlog. This is my devlog. I print out my game, I highlight things on it, and I make notes.
That's actually a pretty good devlog. Pen and paper is underrated.
Yeah, that's true.
I've actually been doing a lot of
the real answer is Google Docs. That's my real answer is Google Docs.
Pen and paper's good though.
I've been doing a lot of like notepad devlog and to-do list and like idea scribbling when I don't have access to a computer or my phone, and it's pretty useful.
And I'm sure someone can do game dev version control on GitHub proper. I don't know who does that, but I'm sure someone.
Smart people, good people.
I've considered doing it.
Organized people can do GitHub if you have multiple files that are all connected together properly.
If I'd be working on a project by myself and I could do it in like Microsoft Word instead of Google Docs, I could use GitHub. But because most of the time it's just like I want to be writing with someone else for a lot of my stuff, it's easier to just do Google Docs. And at that point, I'm just doing everything on Google Docs and I'm lazy.
John suggests flat text files edited in VI.
But yeah, John,
yes.
I will get to that in a second. Don't you worry. Aaron,
Vim is better.
No. We'll talk about that.
Who are you? Oh God, I thought I escaped the Vim people.
I had a tricked out Vim RC in college.
Aaron, you want to go ahead?
I guess I already spoke about my process. I guess specifically for the game a month stuff. A lot of the times I do what I don't really call it a devlog. It's more like I call it a designer commentary, which I put up on Twitter as like a long thread. And like what Imani was saying, like it doesn't get a lot of like or much traction, but I still find it useful to kind of like talk through that process that way. I guess for myself, like game design is quite inextricable from Twitter for me because for for example, like the first game I kind of like designed and released was just some photos of note cards that I had taken and put them up on Twitter as a thread. Like that's like the first game I released. So for me, I had always thought of Twitter as kind of like the platform for my game design stuff. So it makes it natural for me to go to Twitter to like put my stuff there. And then like I mentioned before, like there's the added side benefit of like getting some promotion or like getting some eyeballs on a project, or like at least getting people to like, if they don't download something and read it, they can at least see some more parts of the game, because I usually just put like screenshots and stuff there. And then what I do is I just copy and edit it all, usually just to fix typos. Sometimes I expand on like some things that I did, like in hindsight I didn't cover properly onto itch. Itch has the um, uh, functionality of like putting blog posts basically, but also because like if you put a general update style of uh, devlog post, it also pushes that out on the algorithm, I think.
Mhm.
Because like if you've made a major update to the game, then like it comes out as like, okay, yeah, we'll push it again as like a new game or something like that, and there are um,
Hmm.
um, metrics, I think.
Today I
Nice.
learned.
Yeah, so for major updates, it's kind of good to like put those there, and also it tells people who have downloaded your game like, oh hey, there's a new version up there, I think it. And if you have a devlog to go with it, at least they can see, yeah, okay, these are all the changes that are being done onto this version of the game, because most of the times like I'm just putting stuff on itch. And in terms of like, for me personally, elsewhere, it's like I have what I call like a scratch doc, which is like whenever I start a project, I put all the ideas in there, like ideas for mechanics, ideas for names, random shit. Um, and then as I kind of like organize and like throw away ideas, I move them to the back of the document, because I usually just do stuff in Word. And I save it in Dropbox just so that I can edit it on my phone when I need to. Um, and so as the scratch doc, as the document transitions from scratch doc to like looking to look more like a real design, like a more finished design, I then split that off, save the scratch doc separately, and then work on that document as like the final game, or like the final version of that game. So it's good to go for me sometimes, like, oh, I remember I had like, for example, like I had like some ideas of using playing cards for one of my games, and then later on I worked on another game that also used playing cards for mechanics, and I remember, oh okay, there was another game that I was working with playing card stuff. I remember in that scratch doc I had some stubs of like ideas, like small pieces of ideas that I thought I could go back to. It's not great because like sometimes I can forget where I've written an idea down. I think earlier before we started the stream, there was a discussion of like a bucket, like a game design ideas graveyard bucket. Or so that might be a better way of doing it, rather than have like 18 different scratch docs around. And yeah, like my version control is like very simple. Like I don't have a software development background, so it's just about like whenever there's a major update, I'll just change the version number, I'll save another copy of it. um One of the reasons why I still keep the old copy is just so that I know I could, because I think Dropbox keeps your document version history as well, but I'm not 100% sure.
It
um
does.
and sometimes
I
like
trust Dropbox.
I have old stuff printed for like playtest here and there, so I at least want to have the old version, so that I can, if I find an old copy that I forgot to put a version number on, I can at least go back and like say, okay, which version was this. um
So with
for
that,
my so sorry, what you mentioned about like
because the next
notebooks.
slide is on your changelog, so we can just kind of skip to that.
Oh yeah. We could get to that. But yeah, but what when you mentioned about notebooks, it reminded me that so I don't just design like tabletop RPGs. I've been designing like a card game for quite a while, and that one's ridiculous. I have notes for that over 4 notebooks.
Oh
Um,
God.
Primarily
Where do
because
you record? Where?
I kept a notebook that I brought with me to work, and that was like my work slash other notebook, and then I had the actual board game notebook, and then that got damaged, so I had to start another notebook, and then I had a different notebook that I brought to a playtesting event just because it was smaller and it fit into the bag better because I had to fit the prototype into the bag as well. So it's like 4 notebooks that I really should consolidate. Um,
Consolidation is for chumps.
Or notebooks.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at this.
No,
So
no,
speaking of
Amanda, you're
different
alone here.
notebooks,
Who needs? Oh, look at that organized binder. Get
Look
that.
at all the organized
Wow.
people. These professionals who actually know what they're doing.
Yeah.
printed out and hole punched by hand a copy of my game just so I can carry it around and make notes on it.
They're not punch
So
cards,
many
though.
times since then, it's not even funny.
I found a copy of my game from a playtest a year ago deep in my closet once.
Yeah, like I find copies of games that I printed out. Like me having a printer was a mistake because that's how I keep versions of things. I print them out and then I forget where I put them. So I print out a newer version and I like look at them like, when was this printed? What date is this? Like like this one doc was a script for another game. I lost the cover page. It's so old. Like, but it's the only one I have, so it's the one that gets worked on.
Quick side note: we got a question from Nate. Nate, we will get to it. We did not forget you. We'll get to your questions.
So I'm throwing all the questions that anyone has in the Google Docs. We could actually do it 2 different, not Google Docs. I did put it in Google Docs as well. I'm crazy.
We'll keep it with Google Docs for now. I think that works.
I also threw them in the end of the slideshow.
Oh,
because people
nice.
forgot.
Nice. Let's go to let's look at Aaron's design commentary as well, because you have that in the next slide.
Oh yeah, that's just what it looks like, and when you put it up on itch, that's kind of like what I do. I just keep all of that on Twitter and then I copy that onto itch. That's pretty useful, I think, just in terms for like release stuff. But I think we can. I've covered most of that already.
We made the slideshow, but then we're like bouncing around. It was an attempt. It was an attempt to keep.
It was an attempt. So we can go to my approach to changelog, where what I do is, because I'm a lazy bastard, is my to-do list becomes my changelog. Of like, I will start with like, here is this loose list. Like, this is what it looks like right now. Of like, I'm gonna add in this section of working out skills that work differently. Here are the skills I would attach to it. Let's reframe something about the what and why. Let's change some piece of a character example, because the character I made isn't actually a smooth talker. His charisma is shit. So I have to fix that. Huh?
That's not gonna stop me.
He's a non-smooth talker in the way of, if you talk to him, he will clam up and run away. So I have to fix that. And so I did fix those. And they went into this version 2.6 changelog, where I just marked in, oh, it went from a thing I need to do to a thing I have done. And it is now in the changelog.
Well, that makes so much sense. I wish I should do that. That's so smart.
I thought it was just me being lazy.
No, because I make to-do lists. I mark things off my to-do list, and like, so it'll live in my dev log. I don't see, here's something like, I have a dev log. I don't have a change log. When I make changes, no one will know there's just an update. No one knows that I've made a change or where the changes happened. Just that a change, somewhere there was a change at some point or another.
Nice.
No announcement. Surprise, here's version 2.
Scrubs. Let's look at Ummer's changelog.
I'm gonna let the slide speak for itself for a couple seconds.
I appreciate this change log. I appreciate change log and the truth of the change log.
So the reason there are elves on here is, are y'all ready to hear about my changelog method? So besides the like super organized one for the collab that I've discussed earlier, and how like we turn our conversations into to-do lists, pin them, and then turn our to-do lists into version notes for each version. For my own personal projects, I use to-do lists as well, because that gives me a set list of goals to do. And usually I'll set to-do lists with time periods. So I will put them usually in one or two places. If I make the to-do list on the go or want it to be portable, I will put it in notes on my phone. If I want it on my laptop, I will open up Sublime, type it in a file that gets saved with no file extension, and that is my to-do list for that project. The way I use my to-do lists is, whenever I do a thing, I delete it from the to-do list. So once it's done, it's gone.
choice. That's a choice. That's a valid life choice. I don't agree with it.
I
but it's a
disagree
valid
on the
life
validity
choice.
of that choice. I don't think that choice is valid.
No, you can do it. It's a real thing that you can do. It's a real thing that you can do. There's no stopping it.
The other place I do keep a dev or changelog at some point now, which is like on Twitch, and by streaming it, and so that's a more sort of public place of putting my devlog and changelog. And
Yeah.
a lot of times, what I will do on Twitch, I'm experimenting still what I want to do with the channel. I've done some like create something from scratch and some editing stuff. I think editing and changing on the stream helps a lot. And for me, like the advantage of doing the devlog in that form, to-do lists help me focus my like efforts on specific targeted things. Doing the Twitch streams puts me in sort of like a work environment, quote unquote. It like forces me to start writing. Like I can go for stretches of time with not writing, but the 2 Twitch streams I've done have been 2 of the more productive game design sessions in my last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Because I have this, like I fabricate this environment where I can focus because my focus is shit. In the best of situations.
Vibes.
And we are not in the best of situations. So like yeah.
I mean, I don't have a slide for changelog. That's okay.
We can go to my changelog where what I do.
But yeah, highly recommend to-do list
Okay,
where you delete the entries when it's done so that there is no record of your crimes.
Of your game crimes.
Um,
Amar perpetrator of game crimes.
That's fair.
Hiding their evidence.
No, if no one sees it, it doesn't count.
I have the exact opposite approach, where my internal devlog word for word becomes my external changelog. Literally anytime I push an update to Bolt, I literally just take from the core copy that I have, what did I put in for version 2.5? And I just take that bulleted list and copy paste it into, because there's a devlog feature in itch where every time you update your game, you can throw in another like blog post style entry of the dev notes. This is where I put it. And it also has a bit of the kind of like the developer commentary that Aaron was mentioning of like, you know, I changed how endure checks work because, and I put in like a little commentary of like your ability to do it is going to go down anyway. So it's like, I'm not going to make the number go up. Like there is that a bit of that commentary, but it's mostly of, hey, you're playing this game already. Here are the things that need to change. If you care enough to change your version, and here's how I did it. So
see, I like Amar, I stream my game dev stuff. Like literally, that's the only way. That's the only time I do work is when I'm streaming. If I'm not streaming, I'm not doing work because I have no focus, and if no one's judging me in the background, like if no one's judging me, so my actual changelog consists of a bunch of VODs from Twitch that I just downloaded and saved. That one day in the future, I will have the spoons and spell slots to go through and edit into a concise thing, and it'll be like my very first game that I made, it took me like 20 days. It's hot off the press. And I streamed every day that I worked on that game. And I downloaded every single VOD that I did for that game. And one day I'll go through and edit them. But realistically, that's like
You won't.
30 hours of footage.
Yeah. No, you're not going to do it. I'm telling you now, you're not doing it.
I could. I realistically could. I could. Because that's... I could do it.
In the infinite multiverse, there's one version of it that happened. Yeah.
One version.
I would have the time. Because think about it, that's why I lack the desire to make a video changelog. Because video changelogs are amazing. Because literally you can see what you're doing as you're doing it. I don't remember what I changed.
Now hear me out.
I love how RJ is like, oh yeah, I make a list of things that I've changed, and I just copy that list. I don't remember what I changed. I just know I changed something at some point or another. It's now different.
No, Amani, hear me out. One day, to get yourself to finally edit it, you should stream yourself editing the videos. Then you download those VODs of the changelog of you editing your changelog, and then one day you stream yourself editing those over and over again till you have a chain of changelogs going all the way down.
That sounds that sounds amazing. I'm not gonna say no to that plan actually, because there is a video editing tag on Twitch. I could totally stream myself editing my videos.
Gotta go for that infinitely recursive function. Recursive content. That's it. That's the future of game design. Recursive content.
In like actual recursive code, it will break my brain.
It's fine. It's fine. It's all good.
Uh, um, do we have tools to help with devlogs?
I feel like we touched on these with Google Docs, Dropbox, Git.
Okay.
Like those are all
Sublime.
things, Sublime, Vim.
Sublime.
Fuck Vim.
I
mean,
will
not
fight
really.
you on
I know
that.
nothing about Vim. I just know Vim exists and that people fight about it.
Vim and Emacs are the two big.
Yeah.
I think
But
both
apparently
are
there's a
fine.
combination of Vim and Emacs.
Huh?
What?
I think Imani froze up.
Oh, did I freeze or did I just
For
stop
a
mid
moment.
sentence?
I'm not sure.
Sometimes that happens. I'm in the middle of a thought and I like lose the thought. And it just
That's
that's why I live stream myself streaming. Because I
So-
literally forget what I was.
Vibes.
So I actually have a serious answer for this question.
Yes.
So my methods are by some people's standards, and I would consider those people incredibly rude and judgmental, a mess.
I love
No,
you.
okay. You can't preface your statement with that. Tell who are these people and what do they think is a mess?
I think y'all at this time. but like
Okay.
in all seriousness, like one of the things that I'm trying to get at here is like, despite them being a mess and disorganized by most people's standards, they help me focus my work. And ultimately, like the point of the devlog and the changelog is to be able to communicate your ideas first to yourself with the devlog, and then to others with the external changelog, right? Like your internal to-do lists and whatnot are to help you focus your ideas, your thoughts, and get you to get things on paper. The external one is to give others an idea of what might have changed if they're looking at different versions of the same thing. And ultimately, like, you don't need to go the super fancy route and use Git or have like 500 files in Google Drive or whatever. Those are great, and if those help you, 100% use them. Like, look at all the slides that we've talked about earlier, different methods and existing software, or making your own approach, like with your Dropbox, like Aaron, or Google Drive, like Ryan does for Chimera, or whatever to-do list stuff that AJ was talking about earlier. But you could do any of that, or you could just do whatever works for you, as messy and illogical as it might be to anyone else. If that's what helps you, you don't need to feel obligated to put out a professional changelog. Is what I'm trying to
Absolutely.
get
Yeah.
at.
Like it's like, think of it like exercise. It's miserable to do it. But the only like correct kind of devlog management is the one you stick to.
Yeah, and it's the one that helps you the most. Also, some other tools we haven't talked about, stuff like Trello.
That
Oh.
was good.
Trello's great for notes and for also collaborative work.
Definitely.
Any agile software, if you're at all familiar with like
What does
the
that
agile
mean?
process. Okay, so brief overview. Agile is a software development philosophy where the idea is you break up all the tasks or components necessary in completing a thing. So, like, let's say you want to create a game, you break it up into all the parts you have to complete. Normally, like normal development, you go through sequentially, right? You go, okay, this is the thing I want to make. I do it in the same order every time. Start with the core mechanics, you build out this next part, you build out this next part, etc. Agile is a philosophy that just says, as long as it gets done within the time period, basically, we're fine. And it allows you to kind of be more flexible with which portions you're working on. And most software like that, you'll take a game, you'll break it up into like the 10 different stories or components of it, and then you will just move those along, kind of like Trello notes, to like, okay, this is currently in development. Oh, this is blocked on this other thing. Let me move to this other thing. It usually works better when you have a group, so that way you can have like each person claiming different parts in parallel, but you can still use some of those softwares individually because those softwares let you break up a task.
And once again, like, steal ideas from software developers, because software developers have already had a lot of time to figure out how to work on immensely complicated projects with arcane rules that no one else understands.
Yeah, and all their tools are online because of the nature of doing software development, which is the advantage. Like, there's a lot of writing tools and stuff for this, but not all of them will have as much online support as software dev tools, because software dev tools were explicitly
Built for
designed to
this.
extract the technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of tools, okay, so I'm gonna run through a real quick things of list of all the things that I've used. So I'm currently, I'm saying that with air quotes, writing an adventure for Neo City Chronicles. And so between writing this adventure, I've used Scrivener, Scrabble, Notion, which Notion
Scrabble,
does.
the board game Scrabble.
No, Scrabble, not Scrabble. Scrapple, like the food.
I think something in Scrabble would be amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
if you want to keep your devlog with Scrabble board and the letter pieces, power
Oh my
to you.
god! Oh my god!
I'm
Someone's
do it.
gonna
I'm
do
gonna do
version
it in the
control with a
photo too.
Ouija board.
I'm gonna acquire a copy of Scrabble just to do my next to-do list in it and send you a photo.
yeah, like ghosts aren't doing anything, right? They're just haunting people. Just use them for version control. So sorry, Imani.
My next-
Scrapple and then
No, okay, so here's the thing. So I probably mispronounced the name of that thing, but the same people who make Scrivener make this thing for mind mapping. And I did that. I made this beautiful I made this beautiful mind map of like all the acts, like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And so I saved. So here, let me actually I'm gonna throw some stuff in the slideshow real fast. Let me. I'm just give me 2 seconds to throw things in the slideshow, and you can see my actual my true version control process because it's beautiful. It is truly beautiful.
I feel like we've unlocked Imani's final form, and I am terrified.
No, it's not final form. It's literally like it is my final form. What am I lying about?
You never reveal what your final form is. You wait until you know you can win with it. And then you say, I've been holding back this entire time.
Yeah. Also, real quick, I have a version control idea. You arrange all the board games in your house in alphabet in order so that the first letter of the board game title spell out your to-do list.
That sounds.
First. Aaron, what are your tools for version control? And then we'll cut to questions.
I guess I've already covered most of that. I guess the best tool is to volunteer for a panel about version control that actually makes you go back and look at like what your version control process is and could be. Because like if you'll notice like I actually updated some of that stuff like last week because like I'm doing a panel about about the devlogs. Maybe I should update all the devlogs that I said I would. Also just putting like another thing is like putting the commitment out there for example like for myself like because I work by myself, I don't stream my development or stuff like that. So for me, how I keep myself motivated to do that is I'll just put it on Twitter, even though I know no one might care or see it. But like I know it's there, and like my brain is telling me, hey, you've put it out publicly that you're gonna put devlogs for all your month games, so you're gonna do it at some point or the other. So tricking your brain is a pretty good tool. But I think you're right. Like the best tool is the one that you keep using, right? Which is why even though it's like unwieldy and not great, ultimately, like I still put up stuff on Twitter, because that's how I started doing it, and that's how I'll continue doing it.
Side note, Imani is putting in some of her version control tools, and you're right. This is immensely powerful.
We're gonna see it in a second. But I also want to add that, like, yeah, to piggy off of something Aaron just said, public accountability can be a really strong version control tool or devlog tool.
Listen, public accountability is the only reason why I do anything.
Yeah.
Like if no one knows I'm doing it, is it really happening?
Like there's things like little words. There's things like NaNoWriMo that exist for writing, for example. And like obviously you don't.
Camp Nano just ended.
Yeah.
That's right.
You don't have to do it at the pace of Camp Nano, because the pace of Camp Nano is a lot. Right, and you don't need to maintain that energy even for a month for a year, but definitely not for like a whole year. But having like getting with friends and going like, hey, we're gonna set our goals for what we want to do. Even if they're not all game dev friends, for example, you can be like, hey, I'm gonna write this amount of game dev in this next 2 weeks. I'm gonna do this thing. They'll be like, hey, I'm gonna write this poem in this next 2 weeks. You know, find friends with similar interests that you can all set goals for one another, or find game dev friends, because we exist and we need friends desperately.
I need friends. We're lonely.
Okay, I have a lot of friends. I don't know what you're talking about.
You'll understand how lonely I get.
I live in a basement all the time. I have nothing going on in my life.
Okay, so what slide are we all on? My maps.
New City
So this
Chronicle
is
map.
empty
Yeah,
version of this. Okay, so this is my true version control. This is my new way of doing version control. It's bad. It's a bad place, but I keep doing it. I just keep exporting JPEGs every time I make a change.
Oh wow.
I appreciate the versioning numbers though.
This
Yeah,
is
they're numbered. They're numbered. So there
I
were
peeked
two
ahead.
versions of this map. There was the mind map version of the map, which is what says Adventure World map, and then there's the hex map version of this map, which it only took me 6 tries to get right. Like it's just a slow update process. Like, is this good? Is this good? Does this work? And you just keep going.
Amani. I don't think this is what they mean with the more JPEG meme.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse. Just wait. Keep going.
Yeah, let's keep going. It's fine.
That's
Everything's
fine. This is fine. Let's go to the cover.
This is what happens when I work on things in silence when no one knows I'm working on things, because then shit like this happens. You get 11 versions of this cover before I tell them, okay, I like this version.
And I can see like the changes get more and more subtle as time goes on. Of like, probably by like V6, I would have been done because I'm
No,
lazy.
I was like, I'm not done. I'm not done.
Gotta keep going. I gotta keep going.
Because here's the thing, because John was like, fear of embarrassment is a powerful motivator. If I don't know, except for the fact that you guys are all seeing this right now, if you weren't, no one would have known that I did this. You would only have seen the finished version. The only people who would have gotten to see any of this, like any of this, are people who back me on Patreon. And like even then, it's just like here's 11 versions that got me through to the end. So you can see the slow process of my brain working going forward. Like that's how I do this.
You got to see the next couple slides. Holy shit.
Oh, no one knew I was working on this. Like I wasn't streaming this. So this slide is actually one of how many pages is in this doc? There are 69 pages in this doc.
Nice.
That was
Nice.
D1. This is literally screenshots of every 61 pages or 69 pages
Nice.
of the very first version of this game. I exported. Oh, the pixels are too tiny. That's okay. But just understand that there are 69 individual pages that I printed out each page as a JPEG, and I keep exporting copies just so I can update. Like, look, I changed page 5. Yay!
Hey.
Or else I wouldn't know what I changed. Or that's the only way I would know if I changed anything. And I think I have one more slide in the two versions of my mind map. So this is Scrabble. Or Scrabble, whatever the freak it's called.
The tasty one.
Yeah, that's the tasty one, the food one, not the. And so this is how I outline. This is how I outline things. And this is probably the best version of an outline I've ever done. Like
That's
this
real
map,
organized.
It's real
Yeah.
nice.
and it's color coded, and it means the colors mean things as opposed to my normal way color coding. The colors mean nothing.
Pretty color.
Yeah, well, a lot of times it's just like, ooh, this is a pretty color. I'm gonna make it not black and white. I'm gonna add a spice of color. But no, the colors mean things now, and you can see when I realized, oh yeah, I should make this into like different acts as opposed to like having one giant blob of a game. I had no, I didn't know where things were going. I was like, no, let's break these into like smaller, more manageable chunks.
The game blob.
Oh, but this is my most recent version of devlog keeping, changelog keeping. It's exporting PNGs of things that I'm working on.
So I love the concept of a mind map. The problem is there's no mind mapping software I've seen that can currently do time travel, because my thought process goes back and forth through time, and a proper mind map would need to represent that.
Oh wait, I have an answer to that question. Actually.
Yeah.
You think I'm
Use,
joking?
use
time
the, use that,
travel?
yeah, use the 5D chess game.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Shocker. Imani has a TARDIS.
Yeah.
She is the doctor.
Do it in chat. Use that. It's a little expensive, but it's totally worth it because I have it. And it also works with Scrivener.
Ooh. Interesting.
Interesting. Shall we move on to our Q&A?
Let's
Yeah,
move on
we
to
have
our Q&A.
Actually,
maybe-
one
Oh.
before I think you brought up something really interesting, Amani, because of like Patreon, right? And like that seems to be a common
Oh yeah.
model of like having giving people access to like your in development uh, notes, and as well as like uh, not quite finished versions for playtesting for Patreon. So I wonder if I'm not sure if like either of you, I haven't set up a Patreon myself, but I've thought about that as like a way another place for like putting like dev log stuff. So has anyone else encountered that, or thinking of using that, or subscribe to Patreons that do that?
Yes.
Patreons are too much accountability for
I
me.
can empathetically say yes to that because
Mm.
I subscribe to 2 Patreons. Well, okay. So I subscribe to what is it? Drill Song, I think is their name. I don't know. I can't remember. But they do visual novels. So they do all their devlog stuff like uh um via Patreon. Like all their devlog, like all the art updates, all of that gets thrown on Patreon. And then I also another visual novel software, RenPy, they do actual devlogs for their software on Patreon. Like you can get the behind the scenes of what they're working on and how things are changing for the software. In terms of other games, I don't think I follow anyone who does game design devlogs on Patreon besides myself. And I think everybody I know who I follow on Patreon who does stuff on Patreon puts out like finished products. Like, here's my finished thing, and no one because no one wants to show off
Erica Chapel does
the
devlog
bad
type
times.
stuff. You're saying?
Come again? Just repeat that, please.
Oh, Erica Chapel does devlogs type stuff as well for her.
Oh,
Patreon.
nice. Yeah. I should follow her because that's how I get ideas for things.
Erica, I stole all my game design ideas from Erica Chapel. I'm sorry.
I steal all my dev ideas from Band of Blades and Blades in the Dark. So
Hey.
that's a whole other panel.
I am a well of only original ideas and never steal.
That's a lie. I've never heard a more blatant lie.
That's a troll. That's not even a lie anymore.
I follow Munkao, who is one of the people who does the Thousand Islands zine series along with
Ooh.
Select Siu here. I subscribe to his Patreon, and it is amazing in terms of like the stuff that he because I think are people aware of the Thousand Islands zine stuff?
Kind of.
No.
Like,
Okay.
vaguely, like,
Well,
I mean, where did it exist?
yeah. So like there's zines, and then there's usually like drawings and some fiction and like some like random tables that Zedek writes. But Munkao is the artist on the project, and he's not as active on social media, but like I subscribe to the Patreon, and I really love his process because like behind every drawing he posts like the research that he does into like the 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 dress and the presentation of like the items, like the like a dagger, how a dagger looks like. He will actually post up on Patreon links to like, oh, I went through this old archive and found this like reference material, and I have links to all this um, like archives that are open to the public or like stuff like that, and it's really well done, well researched um um like post, because like it sounds like such a simple thing where he's just like doing the drawings, but like I really appreciate like looking through like the thought process that goes into like a simple or a few drawings, and like all the research around the culture and the history of the Southeast Asia region that he does as well. And like that gives me a better appreciation for the project, that it's not just about like, oh, there's this really cool drawing of this um priest or something, and like Munkao has actually like gone through like, oh, okay, like we shouldn't have called him a shaman. You probably would translate this better to a priest, and all that history of like all the stuff, like trying to get all the details right around all like the jewelry and stuff, and like like learning about like the Tamil trade merchant kings, or not kings, I think they're like a guild um through the Patreon, was really good. And so that's kind of like
The Tamil
when I was
King?
thinking, not the kings. Like there were the Tamil kings, but the one that he brought up, I can't remember one of his previous Patreon posts. They're like a merchants guild that was really powerful in the region back then. So I guess that's kind of like a subconsciously what I've been trying to, or unknowingly what I've been trying to get to be able to like, show the process and thinking behind like designing stuff to that's kind of like a standard that I aspire to. Yeah.
Awesome.
I would like to, unless we get more of the transition us to Q&A with a perfect example of the differences in the styles of our devlogs. For example, Imani here is super organized and copied the questions from the chat into the Google Docs. I, with my steel trap mind, which forgets nothing at all except all the things it always forgets, just scrolled up in the chat because I remembered there was a question there and found the question by scrolling up through the chat.
Oh, not only did I put it in the Google Doc, I also put it in the slideshow.
Yeah,
so
mine is incredibly organized.
super organized. I just scrolled through the chat like a heathen. So the questions are: is there any concern about having ideas being stolen? And there's a second question that I think I'm going to read because they're super adjacent, which does keeping a devlog protect your ideas from being stolen because you have a documented public record of your work in real time? I have a really quick short answer to that, and I don't particularly care about my ideas being stolen for the most part. Like, it's if people are inspired by the things I'm putting out there, then hell yeah, do it. I do put it out there with usually like licensing for like the core mechanics. So like if someone is gonna take my thing, I would like if they credited me. But most of the time, if like I put something in a devlog and someone's like, "Hey, it's super cool. Can I do something with it?" I'll be like, "Fuck yeah."
So I have a funny story, and I'm not 100%. I'm checking something real fast before I say this is true or not.
Oh, no.
Because I might be confusing people. That's why. I thought it was Kiana, but I don't think it's Kiana. So here's the thing. So one of the games that I made, is Dangerous to Go Alone. Take this, right? It's a game which is meant to be played at conventions, in which you take random items out of your pocket and you just like go on an adventure. It's a real simple concept, not complicated at all. And I tweeted this entire thread out. And then I went, someone else has had to have had this idea already. Like, there's no way that someone else hasn't made that joke before. And someone was just like, I did. It's a game for my Patreon. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. That was an original idea in my head, but I believe you because guess what? No idea is original.
Yeah.
Like, not a single thought has ever passed my mind has been original. So, like, in terms of like, am I concerned about my ideas being stolen? No, not really, because apparently I accidentally do. Like, I forget things. I've forgotten that I've either seen something or someone mentioned it or whatever. Also, Magical Girls and Mecha is based on a thread from someone else's Twitter thread about Magical Girls and Giant Robots. I think it's SureWiki and someone else. I can't remember who the other person was on that thread. But how basically Magical Girls and Giant Robot pilots are the same. They're the same. Nice. I was like, well, why not just make them the same thing? Like, why do they have to be separate? And then someone's like, oh, Simple Gear exists. Again, no idea is original, whatever.
Yeah. Side note: if you want to learn more about Everything Is a Remix, roll up to Utopia TV at 7 p.m. I think Imani and me at least will be at that panel.
Yeah, that's true. Everything exactly, and like just said, everyone. Ooh, I have an answer to this question. We got another question. Hold on a second.
Real quick, I want to add a point. Like, another example is I've been working on a game for approaching 2.5 years now. That game's gone through a lot of iterations and changes, and for the last iteration, I upheaved the entire core mechanics resolution system, and I went and tested it. And it turns out that without ever having read Belonging Outside Belonging, I had invented the exact same core system from Belonging Outside Belonging.
Hey,
Does that like, and that's the thing, like there's enough like overlap in core ideas, and if you're working in similar design spaces to someone else, you're probably going to stumble upon an idea someone else has stumbled upon, even if you never looked at their doing it.
So, I will say this again, speaking of me forgetting things, someone explained to me For the Queen. Like, before I played For the Queen, someone explained to me the concept of For the Queen, and I was like, oh, that sounds great. Didn't play For the Queen, forgot all about For the Queen, and wrote a For the Queen goddamn game. And so I was like someone was reading the playtest version of it. And they were like, oh, you made a For the Queen game. I'm like, I've never played For the Queen, so I don't know what that means. And they're like, you should just put the For the Queen logo on it because that's what you should do. And I was just like, okay, yeah.
sure.
I played For the Queen once, and I had written this game months before I had played For the
See,
Queen.
now, if you want to do like original things, you gotta find like something that no one's tried before. Like, make a game using only like candy and fucking like
Crushing.
crushing. Yes, exactly. But
It's
not to be
RPG around Candy Crush.
Yeah.
It's also
one day I'm gonna design an RPG around Tetris. You watch.
Listen, I have my other Magnus Opus is making a VR visual novel, so it's gonna happen I'm gonna keep saying it out loud until it happens.
wild. For me, actually, Aaron, you go first. What do you think about this question?
I was actually gonna go like it's so related to the second question that you kind of almost answered your own question in that like that is one of the benefits of like talking about your stuff publicly, right? Um like ideas are like trust yourself to have better ideas is one of the things that I hear commonly. Like don't be too precious about ideas. Like and the other way people think about it is that like it's the expression and the specific way you express your idea makes it unique to you. Even like if two people have the same idea, they might like do slightly different things and express it differently. And like polish is also another thing, right? Like the amount of polish that you can put on your idea kind of like can set that apart. But if you do talk about your idea publicly and like put it up in a devlog, then yes, you can always like go back and say, hey, like yes, there's a record of me putting this out there, even if it's not a finished product. But I guess the thing about that is that when we talked about why we each of us have put up have kept the devlog or changelog, this isn't kind of like the main reason to do it. Like there's so many other benefits and reasons to keep a devlog that this is kind of like just a side benefit. It's not even something that I have really thought of as like a benefit. It's just a thing that happens. But I think that's a way of saying like, look, encourage you to talk about your ideas publicly. Yeah, like even if someone steals your idea, it doesn't mean that they can execute on it well. And
Yeah, I
that
feel like
execution
game
is
design.
so much work. Yeah.
I feel like game design is different from say like art, like not art, but like drawing, because like stealing someone else's idea for drawing, like you can't steal someone's post. That's not a real thing. But if you trace someone's work, it's not original, as opposed to like game design. Even if you trace someone's work, unless you copied and pasted word for word, it's a completely different thing. Like being plagiarism in game design is slightly different than like plagiarism in other mediums. I feel, because like no one has the exact same thought process about how to get from point A to point B, unless you're literally copying word for word, and that's a whole other panel about plagiarism is bad.
Well, yeah, and there's also the cultural norms in specifically RPG design, in that like people hack other people's games, you
Yeah.
house rule games. So there's a whole culture of um um like you mentioned your panel coming up later. It's like remixing and using someone else's ideas as like a jumping off point for something else, and it's kind of like built into the culture in this space. So that understanding of like um you know not being too precious about ideas is a lot more common here.
Yeah.
I feel, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like I literally put in a Creative Commons thing for Bolt because I want people to steal the shit. And really, what the devlog does is it makes for better clarity when people do it. Because there's another thing to learn from software. Copy pasting code or game rules without thinking about the implications is how you ruin your life.
Yeah, I've done it so many times.
And I think we should get to the next question before
let's hit the
we
next
start closing
question.
things out. From Junkster775, any suggestions on tracking changes of rules in a board game? Looking for like tracking specific mechanics, movement, the turn, etc. in an organized way. Imani, you know board game things, right?
I know board game things, so I'm working. So again, speaking of my Magnus Opus, Neo City Chronicles. So one of the games in that series of games is a board game. It's a tactical turn-based board game with miniatures. I'm very excited about that. And the way I track the changes that I made, like literally, I don't. Oh, hi, cat. You can't see him because it's super close, but my panelists can see him. The way I track the changes for that is I literally have a Samsung tablet and I use the Samsung Notes app. And every time I made a different change, like every single day that I wrote something new on that document, I changed the color of my pen.
Sick.
Oh.
That's how I track changes.
That's actually sick.
So every time I was just like, oh, this works, this doesn't work, I like would cross things out and like write in a new color, a new note, which is why it's like 11. So the paper size is 11 by 18. And I wrote 11 pages of 11 by 18 notes about this game. And not to plug my own shit, but if you ever want to see those notes, subscribe to me on Patreon. If I get 5 patrons, I'm going to post the wildness that is those notes on the internet for everyone to see.
That's actually a pretty good segue to plugs.
Yeah.
Let's plug our
Yeah,
shit.
well,
Imani, you're
well,
already
well.
going on a plug more shit.
Okay, so I'm going to ask if anyone has any other questions, but if no one has any other questions, we're going to wrap it up, I think, even though we have 15 minutes, I think, before the panel's over.
Oh, it's an hour and a half panel. I thought it was an hour panel. We have time then.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we have total time. We total
Yeah.
like,
And Jay was like, "Oh yeah, we went over. It's fine."
No. But no, so I'll do a really quick plug. So hi, I'm Imani. You can find me on itch.io at MarketCatter. You can find me on Twitter at mcatterdev. If you've been in chat for this whole time, you've seen my bots going off with like the reminders for my Patreon and my coffee and sub to my channel and blah blah blah.
Your
blah.
army of bots.
It's only the same bot. It's the same bot, but it's because I usually it goes off with line chatter. So the more you talk, the more times my bots go off. You also see me on a couple other panels. Let me look up my other panel schedules real fast. I'll be in a panel right after this about solo streaming because that's the other thing that I do, which is basically my game design. It'll also be on this channel. I will also be on a Spectrum and gaming panel later on today at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And then following that, like finally at the end of my day, everything is a remix, which I posted in chat at 7 o'clock tonight. This is my panel day.
Hell yeah. I can go over the nightmare of panels that I'm on.
Do that.
Let's see. We got after this, I got Soundscapes, World Building Through Music, which is at noon. Which is gonna be fun. I'm gonna bring my synth. We're gonna blast some shit music that I made. And then we got the play by. And then we get to the play-by-post handbook, which is going to be me and Nala Wu. We're going to talk about play-by-post RPGs and how you should consider them. They're fun. That's going to be at 3. Ooh, I want to hear about that. And then I'll also end everything is a remix with Imani, where we will continue to rant.
If you want someone to talk about how there are only original ideas, please invite me on, and I will. If you doubt my ability to do it, you know I can do it with an entirely straight face.
Never had an original thought in my entire life.
Every single thought we've all had are original thoughts, unhampered by any of our life experiences, any of the other games we've read, any of the media we've consumed. We are just vessels existing in the void, consuming and exiting thoughts that are meaningless and unoriginal, and only creating pure original ideas.
What are these things called? Thoughts?
Yeah. All right, Himbo, get out of here.
I have one brain cell. I have one brain cell, and all it does is think about making the same game over and over and over again.
How about you, Aaron?
Yeah. AaronLime.itch.io, EHRONLIME. And Twitter will be the same handle as well. I actually wanted to do a quick thing about the board game devlog thing. I think a lot of the stuff that we talked about here kind of applies the same way. You can highlight sections of the rule book that you change. But specifically for board games, one of the challenges, I guess, is like you will have like components or like images and stuff. So I think that you take a note out of like video game developers. Just keep all your assets in a folder and version control the assets as well. And like so it takes up a lot of space, but like for the card game that I did, like each iteration, even if I just change 2 of the cards, I start a whole new folder with all of the things the same except for the and you can see in Imani's stack of cards over there. Just try and keep version numbers on your stuff as well if you can. So if you, even if you're printing out prototype, like have a small like what version number this is somewhere on the card or on the board, just so that you're keeping track of which rule book goes with which prototype pieces. That's it. Just try and keep things together is the
Definitely.
main thing. Yeah.
Again, development's actually a pretty good place to steal ideas for like version
Mm.
control and collaboration from, because they use the same tools.
Yep.
With more data.
Yeah, and like I think board games are probably closer to video games in terms of like the amount of the way the assets are used
Yeah.
compared to like putting together. I guess it's the same if you have a lot of components for your tabletop RPG, or like you have multiple books. Like you might have, you might be on version 7 on like one book and version 8 on a supplement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jay, you want to do your plugs?
Yep.
Plugs. Yes. I'm the Bolt Man. All I do is bolt. I am a lightning mage in my spare time. So fear me.
I'm a
you can
pyromancer, so I do not fear you at all.
do me 1v1.
Easily, with my eyes closed.
We'll see about that one. When social distancing ends, I will 1v1 you.
You really think you can do that? All right, bud.
I will try. You can find me at Ajay Pandey on Twitter. You'll find me tweeting on the Tabletop Chop Shop hashtag, which is a great little hashtag around like game design discourse that's trying to do better by discourse. I'm also on Ajay Pandey at ajaypandey.itch.io, where I do bullshit, including a game that's very much Ace Combat, the RPG. It's fucking sick. So that's happening. And that's pretty much it. And I'll be on a bunch of panels as well. Cool.
I'll do my stuff real quick. Saving the most chaotic for last. Hi, I'm Homer Emeraz. You can find me on Twitter at Emeraz, where you can then find my podcast if you enjoyed hearing my voice or particular brand of chaotic energy. Side note, if you want to have me on a podcast, don't invite me at this hour or else the chaotic energy will be even worse. But I do streams, I do podcasts, I also do game design, which you can find on itch. I have a couple of games out there. One that uses poker as a system, one that's a hack a bolt, and one that uses Uno as its core mechanics. Has never been tested, but it's really cool. I think it's super neat. It's a one-page game. Don't laugh at me, Amadi. Get out of here.
Laughing because you said it's never been tested, and I was like, none of my games have been tested.
Oh yeah.
That's another. Sorry, I'm gonna go for a side tangent about version control. That's the other way I do version control. Is I put things out there on the internet. People give me feedback, and then I update them based on that
That's
feedback.
super fair. But
It's live playtesting in my live devlog.
I do have one question for the panelists to wrap us up. How many of you are going to be moving to my to-do list method of erasing it from your to-do list when you're done with it?
Never,
No.
you monster.
No.
You utter monster.
All right. With that, I think we're probably going to be rating Utopia, who are on the
Woo,
official
woo, woo.
channel playing Magic and Mischief, which is a super cool game, and it's a phenomenal cast. Honestly spectacular. I'm super excited to go see that. I will probably sleep halfway through because I need to get some more sleep, but it's
Hey.
super cool. You should go watch it if you have the energy to be awake. And go support them. Buy a ticket from Gen Con. It's free, so you're not really buying a ticket, but it gives them metrics, and then Gen Con knows that we should be invited again, so you should do it.
Nice.
Yay, we're raiding, and we're raiding. Everyone get ready and raid Gen Con.
Raid.
I hardly ever raid anyone. Okay, there we go. We're now hosting.
What's
Gen
a
Con.
raid? Is it like...
So it's basically where you take all your followers and move from one place to
Oh wow,
another.
they got a lot of viewers on here.